One of the things that always really shocked me when it came to Brexit was you had been seeing constantly this stream of OAPs who had decided that they were going to go and retire into Europe, taking advantage, well, of being part of the EU. Yep, you can go back and you can find the quote expats as they like to describe themselves, or immigrants, I suppose, technically the real term, who have emigrated, to use the correct term, um, from the UK to live in Spain or in the Riviera or in Italy. Most notably Spain, of course. I don't know why they all decided to choose Spain, but there you go. um, but this was a huge thing that happened. This was a well-known thing that this is what a lot of people would do, that they would move to Spain. Once you retire, oh, you'll move to Spain. And that was only possible because again, we were in the EU. And even back then, even before Brexit, you can actually find articles of all these expats saying how they want representation in the UK Parliament, that they want a special expat MP to represent them. And you're like, I don't know how how that would have even worked as a concept, but uh, there you go. And of course, this was one of the things that Leave said, that nothing's going to change. And that was a very serious statement that they made, completely straight faced. When in reality, as we were saying back then, that's not true. If you vote out, you are no longer in the club. We always use the you know the reference to, it is like you have a gym membership. When you buy membership to that gym, you can go into the gym, you can use all the facilities, you can steal all the towels you want. The gym doesn't mind because you're paying the membership. You are part of that, membership club. You are in it. The thing is, once you stop paying that membership fee, then you can't go into the gym as freely anymore. You have to pay an access fee. You can mainly only use certain facilities, only use certain things at certain times. So there is a very, very clear, as we always said, that once we left, there was going to be restrictions. But of course, as we always made very clear, Leave was lying. The idea that, again, nothing would change and that, well, we remain in the single market and customs union, that we would keep freedom of movement while at the same time denying it to Europeans. Again, core pillar of the single market, free movement of goods, services, and people. um, but all that stuff is still there. All that stuff is still there. You can see the interviews, you can see the Leave campaign talking about it and setting it out of what they wanted. Even Nigel Farage said that, and said some crazy stuff that, to be honest, I think a lot of people really need to go back and start looking at what these Brexiteers were saying at the time versus now what has happened, and really start actually questioning them over what they said back then during the Leave campaign. I mean, Daniel Hanan, especially, my favorite quote from him is the, only a fool would leave the single market customs union. And of course, prior to saying that, he said that a vote for Leave was not about leaving the single market and customs union. They would never do that because only a fool would do that. So you can see the vastly difference of what was this big amorphous no plan Leave campaign to get Brexit done by saying, don't worry, vote for Brexit and you'll get all this change, but in reality, nothing will change. So today we go to have a look at the eye, to see just how much this change has affected these expat couple in particular, and not just them, but many of these expats who would go and retire in Spain, finding it now infinitely more difficult to do so. And the dust has now killed the dream for many of these expats, many of them who did vote for Brexit on the basis that nothing would change. So before we do go getting into that, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, the One Off Nation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There is the YouTube Pony Club as well, and of course the thank you button too. So let's get on into this. So this comes from the Eye with the title of "I voted for Brexit and heard it wouldn't affect us. Now I can't live in my 13k Italian house." So a British couple in their 60s have bought a bargain of a £13,000 three-house bedroom in Italy for their retirement. And bear in mind, buying a house, a three-bedroom house for that price, for £13,000, unheard of here in the UK. That is just not a house price you would get. But again, that goes into discussion of maybe we need to have a big discussion about making homes more affordable and actually how we can do that. But that's a conversation for another time. But they cannot get a visa to live in it because of the post-Brexit travel rules. Greg Walter from Winchester says he voted for Brexit but now feels betrayed. What a surprise. I've always said, there will come a time, one newspaper sooner or later, and it will be pro-Brexit, will print on their front page, "This wasn't the Brexit we voted for." We've been close on a couple of occasions. We've been close, but we haven't been there yet. But eventually, I do feel we will. I really do feel we're getting there. When even Nigel Farage is coming out and saying that Brexit's a failure, we're getting close. We're getting very close. Anyway, he had this to say. So we were told that Brexit was not going to impact our life abroad and that it would just be a matter of formality. Mr. Walter, who worked in construction, told the Eye. People who had a second home in Europe or planned to buy one were never given the correct information on the vote outcome. You mean Leave lied and not telling people that was the vote? Well, my response to this guy was no. People weren't giving you the outcome of what the vote was going to be. It's you didn't listen to us, you didn't take us seriously, and you believed the the Leave mantra of you don't trust these experts, and this is all just a fantasy that these Remainers are telling you. It's not going to happen. We hold all the cards. Turned out, oh look, we were correct. So he and his partner, Steph Appleton, have purchased an old dwelling in the picturesque town of Loranco in Bosalca region in the southern Italy last year, and they want to relocate to the quiet village surrounded by the lush vegetation and enjoy a very laid-back lifestyle. The couple from Winchester bought the three-bedroom house last year for £13,000, but are now struggling to get a visa to live there full-time. The post-Brexit rules mean that they can only spend 90 in every 100 days in Italy. So they've applied for a special visa for non-European Union citizens who have passive income from pensions, rentals, or annuities. But the Italian authorities have told them that their savings of around £58,000 were not enough to get a visa, that they needed pensions, private or state, that meet the income threshold. And Miss Appleton has said they will not get their state pension for over 2 years. The former IT manager who voted against Brexit says that she is frustrated and that the unclear rules have given her a headache. But you get the idea. What they're complaining about? Well, they're complaining about Brexit. It's what we said all the time. And this was made very clear at the referendum. This was made very, very clear that you would not be able to continue like this, that this idea of this retiring in the sun to Spain, to Italy, that was going to come to an end. If you voted Leave, that was going to come to an end. That's what we were saying, because nothing what Leave was saying at the time, I remember it very clear that time, really was making sense, because we were going to remain in the single market and customs union, but we were going to get rid of freedom of movement, but somehow keep freedom of movement, but also at the same time keep all the same things and advantages we had of the EU, but lose not but lose none of the benefits. So is it any surprise that you've got a guy like this saying, "Yeah, I feel betrayed, and we weren't given the correct information"? Well, yeah, you were betrayed because that was the whole point of the Leave campaign, to try and convince as many people as they could, and you were given the correct information, but unfortunately, you believed the wrong people when people like Michael Gove said, "Oh yes, don't trust those experts." But this is not a surprise, and I wouldn't be surprised if this continues. And of course, surprise news update. We are once again having the big summer queue down at Dover. Why? Because, well, it's the Brexit checks again, as always. It's the regular rolling summer thing that we're always going to get now. And people will cotton on eventually, and they won't be able to deny it for too much longer, because this is once again the third summer, no, yeah, fourth summer now in a row that this has happened. And these checks are only going to get worse. So, you know, I'd hate to say it, but we were right. We were right. Um, now we've got to start actually knuckling down and start undoing this damage that you guys apparently now did not want, or did not feel that you were given the correct truth. And we've seen the polls every single time increasing that, yeah, people want to rejoin. And I've always said that the real result of the referendum, if Leave had actually been honest and actually told people the truth about what was generally going to happen, I believe it would have been 30-60 vote for Remain. I really do. I think it was because you had people like Nigel Farage, the whole Boris Johnson and Michael Gove kicking, David Cameron, using it as an opportunity to air their dirty laundry in public, and people saw it as an opportunity to again give David Cameron a good kicking. There was the whole very, very racist element in and around the Brexit vote. You cannot deny that. That was a whole factor. That was a thing, unfortunately. Um, yeah, there was no plan that the Leave campaign put forward. And eventually we ended up with the Brexiteers driving for the hardest possible form of Brexit, which was not what people would have voted for had Leave actually campaigned on that platform. Remember, the Leave platform was, we were going to stay in the single market customs union. Why have we left it? Um, any future government can rejoin that. And of course, they're only fulfilling the will of the people. You've got plenty of video clips and quotes from prominent leavers saying that they were going to remain in the single market and customs union. So, and of course, Kimmy Badenoch has specifically said very recently that, they didn't need a referendum to join the Pacific Partnership. So it'll happen eventually. I really do think our course back to rejoining the EU is, even before we get to talking about full membership, will be rejoining the single market and the customs union. You'll see, I think, under Keir Starmer and Labour, probably a alignment rules, doing deals, aligning, which will again relieve the border checks, make these checks less onerous, and will ease at least some friction, but it won't get rid of it permanently. But as we always said, Starmer eventually can go back and just say, "Look, this is Brexit. We've improved it as best as we can, but this is Brexit. This is as best as it is ever going to be. Is this really what you want?" And I think that's the direction that we're really going to end up going. And even if it's not Keir Starmer, it'll be someone else eventually who will say that. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.